Welcome to Beyond the Business Card podcast.
I felt free, like the shackles were off. I was given one chance in life,
Right.
and I would never let it go.
Yeah.
So I used to remind myself a lot when it got tough, I given one chance in life. Would never ever let that chance go. So I saved so much money. We reinvested our profits back in, and I think partly because we didn't achieve what we wanted to achieve in the first company, which was an exit. We wrote in our business plan that we'll sell this company. So every decision that we made was based on these things that had happened, which was to achieve an exit. And like it was really ingrained in both of us, and we were very aligned on it. So we just reinvested and reinvested and reinvested and didn't take money out. In our first year, we did £1 million in revenue.
Today's guest is Graeme Hubert, co-founder of Consul Partners. The son of immigrant parents, he built a global recruitment powerhouse and went on to sell the business in an 8-figure deal. Anchored by his mum, his wife, and his business partner, this is a story of resilience, family, and life-changing success.
Nothing in life is easy or free. It just isn't. And you got to work and be prepared to make sacrifices. Have something that somebody wants to buy and purchase a service or a product, of course. And then outside of that, you got to graft.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Business Card podcast with me, your host, Justin Maguire. And today we're speaking to Graeme Hubert. Now, Graeme is an exited founder. He's also an advisor, and he's got a very interesting story. He lives here in Dubai, used to live in the UK. What we're going to do is we're going to get under the skin of that journey, what it's like to grow an international business, what it's like to sell it, what you do afterwards, how you feel. We're going to go back to his origin story at the start, just to kind of find out the roots, where he's come from. So Graeme, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Now, I gave you a little inkling there what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And we spoke off camera about what Beyond the Business Card podcast is about. And it's really getting under the skin of the journey. Okay. Now, I never do anyone's introduction justice. So if you wouldn't mind, just give us a bit of an intro about yourself. Mate.
Sure. Graeme Hubert. Worked in staffing industry recruitment all my life. Got 4 kids. Moved to Dubai 12 months ago. So I'm a bit of an adventurer at this stage of my life. Worked in tech staffing forever. Started 2 companies. You may not know about the first one that started when I was 21, and then started my main company that I sold, Consul Partners, and since then been helping companies scale and grow.
Nice. Well, There's probably a lot more to unpack there than what you've led us to believe. So let us go back. Let's press the rewind button, mate. You brought up in the UK?
Yeah. Grew up in the UK, born in London, grew up in East London in Hackney. Just mum and dad were both immigrants to England. Dad's from Sri Lanka, as you know, and mum's Anglo-Indian. And they both kind of arrived in England in the 50s with my grandparents and their siblings. Both sides had, 10 brothers and sisters, big extended family. I've got over 50 cousins. So we've got this cousins group, which is mad, like really close.
Yeah.
So they both arrived here, and on my dad's side, they we've talked about it off camera, but they had a really good life in Sri Lanka, and they moved to England. The family money didn't come to England; it went to the other part of the family in Australia. So they came from considerable money in Sri Lanka. Dad had a driver and butler and stuff, to landing in Tottenham. And they lived in a 3-bedroom house in Tottenham, and Dad, as the oldest, went out to work at 15 in a factory.
Right.
And used to come home on a Friday and give his money to my nan, and she would share it out to the brothers and sisters, and that was their life. So they went from a good standard of living to not a great standard of living. And on my mum's side, when my nan and granddad arrived, and there's a story, they got to Waterloo Station with 10 kids, didn't know where to go, didn't have anywhere to go when they arrived in England, just suitcases, and ended up at a family friend's house, and then found their way and basically worked really, really hard to find their way for their kids.
Yeah.
So born in Hackney, grew up in East London, moved to Suffolk when I was 11.
Right.
Mum didn't want us to grow up in London and wanted us to have a different type of upbringing, me and my brother. Mum and dad divorced when I was very young, so I didn't ever know them together. I was 2 or 3 when they divorced. I only ever knew seeing dad every other weekend. And that was the beginning part.
And you got brothers and sisters, you said?
Yeah, I got an older brother who lives here, as you know.
Yeah.
Daryl's been here for 15 years. My nephews did their whole schooling here, came here, Charlie and Callum, they were 2 and 4, and they're now 21 and 18. So, and I've got another brother in England, David, who lives in the South Coast. Yeah.
And do you think it's that environment that you brought up in? Do you feel that there's any sort of, have you thought about, now you've sold a business, do you reflect back on that time and think, well, I wonder if there's anything in that time that sort of influenced me, or that?
Yeah, there are influences in that. I saw my mum struggle a lot, like work really hard, and she taught me and my brother, you got to work, basically. Like, work ethic is everything. So, and to be very independent, and that was something that was really ingrained in us. So yeah, we had to really work, and be independent, and we knew that nothing was going to come for free. So.
And then you saw your dad
every other weekend.
Every other weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
And his life was pretty much, he worked his way up through the factories.
Yeah.
And was a print manager. So was a production manager in a really big company. And was like, just he'd come pick us up at weekends. He lived in Tottenham, and we'd walk down the high street and everyone would know my dad. He lived his life in the pubs in Tottenham in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, that was his life. Played cricket at weekends. When we were young, he'd pick us up on Friday night. We'd go to his place, to his little bed sit in Tottenham, and Saturday we'd go to cricket.
Yeah.
Hang out there all day, like be in the pub till midnight. We were young, and then get up and do the same thing the next day.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting upbringing that we had. Our cousins would all be there and stuff. And yeah, that was kind of his life. And mum just worked basically to provide for me and my brother.
Really? So from a work perspective, sounds like you've had two very hard workers kind of growing up, even though they weren't together, they sort of were both providing for you, right?
Yeah, I'd say my dad was probably a little bit more of a party guy.
Was he? Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
I'd say
it.
he's probably more of lived a good life, I think.
Good networker.
His friendship group was probably a little bit more important than some other things in life,
right?
I think. Yeah, would be fair. He passed away in 2014. So, but he worked very hard. Mum, I think we had a pretty strict upbringing. Mum was, we grew up in a fairly strict Catholic house. Me and my brother were altar boys when we were younger. And so I think we went to Catholic school in London, then went to a state school in Suffolk. That sort of certain things, I think, as well. Right from wrong, had to be a good person, morals. Yeah. I think that was a really good base and foundation for us. And then, she instilled an incredible work ethic in us. She also instilled in us something that she reminded us a lot, which we had to be better than anyone else. Which was basically, her view was, when we walked into a door for a career, someone's going to judge us on the way we look first to be better. And that, I think, I said to you today, a bit vulnerable here because I prepare for everything and I haven't prepared for today. And I think that probably stems back from there.
Yeah. And were you sort of an academic at school?
Great question. I wasn't academic at all. My brother went to university and to do economics, and I didn't.
Right.
I think I probably was had like a base level, a bit like natural intelligence, but not academic. Wasn't very, very book smart. So I did my GCSEs. It was easy. Started partying pretty young. I was probably my mum's tough teenager out of the two of us. Did my A-levels. Just wasn't that interested in it. All of my friends went to university and my wife went to university and I didn't really know what to do. And one of the rules that was in the house that my mum had was, you either work or you study. You're not going to live here if you don't do one of those. So I didn't do great in A-levels. So I went to resit A-levels and I realised I hate this. So I'm going to have to go to work then. I'm going to have to find a job at 18 because I won't be able to live under her roof. Where will I go? What will I do? So we lived in Suffolk. So I took myself off to London, basically. I said to her, I'm going to go to London and find a job. And she said, okay, no problem. Off you go. Went to, do you remember Burton's?
Yeah.
Went to Burton's on the high street. She bought me a suit.
I had a suit.
She bought me a suit and a pair of shoes and said, there you go. Off you go. I was 18. Go to London and do it. And I lived in my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife, Gaynor, lived in her halls of residence at university. Used to, so I wasn't allowed to live there. So to jump out the window in the morning and like come back, knock on the window, jump in the window, basically, and just set myself a goal, which I'm going to find a job. And so I walked around London for like 2 weeks, just trying to like knocking on doors. Can I get a job? I've got to get this job. Otherwise, what am I going to do? So that was the starting point. And I didn't really know what to do, where to go, what to do. There's a couple of interesting interviews I went on. And then my mum said to me, there's this recruitment company on High Holborn. They placed me. They got me a bookkeeper job. She was a bookkeeper years ago. Go and try this guy. I was like, okay, cool. So I just like rocked up to this recruitment company and I said, obviously I didn't know what recruitment was. This agency, knocked on the door. Can I see the guy? You placed my mum, Frida Fernandez, years ago. And he must have looked at me and he was like, what is going on? I'm looking for a job. Can you help? And he was like, we've got a secretarial division. Wait there. Don't move anywhere. So I sat there and then the secretarial division came down. They interviewed me. Debbie interviewed me. Debbie Smith, her name was. I was 18. He said, we've got an IT division and they're looking for a junior. Stay there. Don't move. Like you can interview with them. And then I interviewed for this IT recruitment resourcing role. I didn't even know what it was. And Josie was a director. She interviewed me and they offered me a job as a resourcer, first ever resourcer they hired, Times Computer Group. And they offered me £10,500 basic and £50 a placement. And I sat there and I said, I'm not sure. I don't know where this came from, by the way, as I reflect. I'm not sure. I said, like, would it, I'm really kind of looking for like 11.5 or 12,000. I don't know where I got the confidence to say it. And she just looked at me and said, no, like, absolutely not. It's this or nothing. And I was like, okay, it's this, I'll take it. So I got the job in IT recruitment in 1995, just as tech was starting to boom. The timing was unreal. I walked out of 77 High Holborn onto High Holborn's a phone box, phoned my mum and cried my eyes out. So I got a job.
And your mum referred you in. What a great story.
Yeah.
That's absolutely brilliant. I didn't know that. That's brilliant.
And coming back round, about 4 years later, I had this weird conversation with my mum where she said, you left home at 18 and you never came back. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, you just left at 18. Like your brother went to university, would come back. You just left. I said, yeah, I had to leave because I couldn't stay if I wasn't working or studying. So what could I do? Yeah. And she was really upset. Yeah. And I was like, but this is like the wheels in motion that I didn't realize that I didn't have a choice in my mind. Yeah. I don't think she really meant it. Yeah. Yeah. Which is interesting. Yeah. She was disappointed in it.
But ultimately it's like that fear of being homeless is what started the whole journey, right?
That was a really interesting word because if I reflect on my life, fear has been a big driving force for me. A fear of failure, I think.
And do you think that fear of failure, do you think, because mine, by the way, is I've a complete fear of running out of money. And the reason I have a complete fear of running out of money is I was brought up in a household where my dad had a lot.
Right.
And then we lost everything.
Right.
And I remember literally the bailiffs turning up and sort of, like it was horrendous, And then we were kind of known as the family that lost it. And it was real sort of, my dad had quite a big family. So I felt this shame.
Right.
So when I got into work and as I've grown as a business leader, I've always, even though logically I'm okay, I'm forever worried about running out of money.
Yeah. I think that is something that resonates with me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fear of, I guess, failure, cash, everything.
All of it, yeah.
Still now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I really appreciate the value of money.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things for me was I didn't want to live my life the way my parents lived their lives, which was not having any money. Like talking about credit cards, we got to put it then, like fear in credit cards, never having a holiday. We had holidays like caravan in Wales, great times, but not holidays like when we moved to Suffolk, quite an affluent area, parts of it quite affluent. Like people go on holiday, we didn't go on a holiday. And that's fine. Like, I remember things that would happen, which got really comfortable with. When I was in my early days, I wasn't comfortable with it, but I got really comfortable with 16th birthday. Everyone's getting like bikes for their birthdays. I got this unreal red check shirt and a belt, and I was so happy with it. My 16th day, like that belt was unreal. It's a leather belt and a shirt. Yeah. Everyone else got bikes and cash and money, but that meant the world to me because I loved the belt.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Did you grow up was it a single parent? Did your mum?
No, mum remarried.
Okay.
My stepfather's from New Zealand, so it's probably where the kind of route to maybe having a bit more of a rural environment came from. And my dad remarried as well.
Okay.
So both of them remarried.
And did they, either of those have an impact in your life, do you think?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. I think probably definitely more my mum first.
Yeah.
And then my dad was probably more of, probably brought a social element to my life, I think.
Yeah, because when I first met you, obviously you're, I'm sure people say you're a very warm, charismatic guy, right? And that I'm assuming from the story you've just told now, that's very much your father's side coming through.
I haven't ever thought about it until now, but probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, probably.
And made for recruitment.
Made for recruitment. My daughter's exactly the same.
Really?
Like, she's so good at communicating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, before we move on to family, let's just go back to your career, because I want to keep it sort of running through so people can sort of hear the story. Yeah. I'm quite curious. So you've joined an IT recruitment business in 1995 as their first rookie.
Yeah.
Right?
First ever resourcer.
I mean, the timing's unreal.
Timing's unreal.
Tell us about what happened there.
It was the IT division of a much larger group called MRG, owned by a guy called Gary Lawrence, absolute legend. And he had IT, secretarial, 2 accountancy divisions. And IT division had 5 recruiters. Chris was a sales director, Sanjay, Mark, Tom, and Jonathan. And they were lightly in their mid-20s, their mid to late 20s. So I rock up, earring in, and they're doing recruitment, IT recruitment. And I look around, they're like, these young guys are driving amazing cars, like Porsche, BMW convertible. Really? And I'm like, what is going on? And so they teach me like resourcing. And how it worked back then was piles of CVs in alphabetical order and a book, like a big book, and names of candidates, their location, their tech skills, contract or perm, and what their money they wanted. And you basically resourced by going through a book. And you went through a book, found a CV, and each CV was coded and had a number. And so you pull out the CV and you call them.
Yeah.
And then if they were good for the job, we had a secretarial team that would retype the CV into our format and you'd fax it to the client. So we started doing this, 50 quid a placement, and I just found it quite easy. I worked with 5 amazing recruiters, really successful. And so I had an amazing opportunity, again, right timing, right moment in time. And 1995, tech is just starting to become a thing. Computers are just starting to become a thing, particularly in London in the banking environment. And so I just found it really, it's just something that came natural to me. They gave me a job. I looked through this book. I found a CV. I called the guy or girl. They were interested. I sent it to the guy. We started making placements. And I just found it easy. I don't know what to say. It was just really simple for me. And I did really, really well. And and then they promoted me like 4 months in, and I found it really easy. And then quite quickly I was earning unreal commission, unreal. And, they were hiring me cars and I was going to client meetings. And won my first client meeting, Ford Motor Company, doing X25 WAN networks, and just went to the client meeting, got on really well, made placements easily.
How old
were you?
Rookie
of 18. Won Rookie of the Year. Yeah. Didn't even know what Rookie of the Year was. The annual conference was in one of the hotels in Park Lane. Never been to a hotel at Park Lane in my life. And I didn't really want to go. It was on a Saturday. So I basically said, can't go. There's a family thing. No, can't go. Why would I do that? I'm 18. I couldn't think of anything worse than going to a company presentation on a Saturday. And then so Chris, who was my boss, said, you have to go. And obviously I was going to win, so I didn't know. So I ended up going. Right, okay, I'll go. And you have to wear a black tie. Didn't know what that was. And I won, at that point across the group, there must have been over 100 recruiters and unreal performers. And I win Rookie of the Year, and I didn't really know what it was. And I got this certificate, and and it was just all new, so I didn't have any expectations. And from there, it just basically spiraled and just ended up being a big biller and doing really well. And Chris and Sanj, Mark and Tom mentored me, and I don't really know what to explain. I think a lot of it was timing. But I used to do this quite a lot. I was given one chance in life,
right,
and I would never let it go.
Yeah.
So I used to remind myself a lot when it got tough, I give one chance in life. would never ever let that chance go.
And sounds like you just absorbed everything you heard.
Yeah, just took it all in. I used to cheat the system a little bit. So I used to I realised quite quickly, you got to work hard, mum, got to have a work ethic, got to be the best in the room. So I used to make sure I was the first one in every morning and the last one to leave. I'd be the last one to turn the lights out. And what I'd do is I'd literally sit there, wait. The last one would go and I'd sit there. I'd literally count down 120 seconds, make sure they can't see. And as soon as I thought no one's coming back, I'd go. Just like, I'm out of here, I'm going to get home. But they obviously thought I was working, like I just wanted to play the game a little bit on that. So,
in those days, I mean, I can, it's a similar environment to what I started in. Those days, the boss saw you, that really counted for a heck of a lot.
Yeah.
It gives me the fear a bit in a remote world. I mean, I'm all for remote business, but I do think of what I learned in the early stages of my working life. For me, it was working in an advertising company.
Yeah.
I was just listening to every conversation, and it just, I could then pick up the phone with confidence.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like you were very similar environment you were in, right?
Absolutely.
And just how important that is.
It's really important.
Yeah.
It's a different way. You have to adapt, don't you? It's a different way now.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to go back to that ever.
Were you, it sounds like you were quite a naturally competitive person, which is just...
Do you know, I was really competitive.
Yeah.
And I still am now. If I go back to like my teenage years, I knew I wanted to have money because we didn't have money. So I knew money was important to me at some point in my life. I knew pretty early on I wasn't going to be a sports person and I couldn't sing. So I couldn't be like glamour. I couldn't do sports, couldn't like do music, couldn't be an actor. I don't know what I just didn't know what I was going to do in life. I was really lost as like most teenagers are. I was lost at 16 to 18. I didn't have a clue where my life was going to be. And that's why it always came back to this one chance I was given in life on 77 High Holborn.
You and I have got quite a bit in common here. I'm going to tell you why. So I was pretty much brought up in, like, my dad was away quite a bit, so I wouldn't see him very often, but my mum brought us up. Anyway, I, like you, wasn't very academic, right? But I kind of, everyone said, oh, you'll be able to sell something. Everyone thought whatever I do, I'd end up selling something. Anyway, what happened was my mum went on holiday.
Right.
And I'm 18. I'm working in a pub. My mum went on holiday, met this bloke called Ben. And she basically pitched...
Did you have siblings?
I have a younger sister, 10 years younger. And basically pitched me in to this Ben guy continuously on this holiday she was on, right? And eventually, at the end of it, he went, I think I've got a job that Justin could be good for. But it wasn't with him, it was with his mate, right? So I rocked up, Burton suit, right? And had my interview there, and they put me
at 18.
And they put me in the stock room, right? I basically was the only bloke wearing a suit packing boxes, but because people found me quite entertaining and I spoke to everyone, they moved me out to the sales floor afterwards. But it was my mum that found me that job. So there you go, in a Burton suit.
Well, thinking about like working in the stock room, so obviously, I don't want to labour the point, but we didn't come from much. Very loving family, but didn't come from much. So I was working at 13 in the supermarket, 14 in the supermarket. And I worked in Gateway supermarket.
Right.
I don't know if you remember Gateway, that's Summerfields anyway. Yeah. And then I left Gateways.
I think I do. Was it like a one-stop sort of? They had...
Sorry, I'm sorry, it's not right. My first job was in Woolworths.
Right, okay.
In Woolies,
yeah.
And so that was 13, Saturday job.
Yeah.
And I was the only guy on the payroll. There was one other guy in the town we lived in, Sudbury. And the first job I had to do was my job on Saturday was sweep the car park. So I would sweep the car park in the Woolworths uniform and it was fine for me because I was getting paid. And then I'd have to sweep the floor of the shop and do all these things. And I was like, okay with that because I was working.
Yeah.
And then I got a job in Gateways for like 50p an hour more or something, whatever it was. But I worked from a young age.
Yeah.
Because it was the only way if you wanted a bit of...
And me, I was in one-stop community stores, which was like the local kind of like...
supermarket.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's a bit like the 7-Eleven sort of equivalent, right? But I remember my first time working there, I caught a bunch of kids shoplifting.
What did you do?
Well, I kicked them out. I was like 14. I kicked them out because that's what the boss told me to. Anyway, their big brothers rocked up.
Oh, no.
I never kicked them out again.
Oh, no. See, it was an interesting one for me because Woolies is quite an interesting one because my wife worked next door in Iceland.
Yeah.
And like she was like, I was like, wow. Upmarket, way out of my league, no chance ever. But she used to come in, I see her, and she would never obviously talk to me as That's what I thought. And then like 4 years later,
Yeah.
3 years later, we end up getting together.
So I think, and I've interviewed a lot of people in this podcast, and I think you're the first person I've interviewed who's been with their partner as long as you have, right? As long as you've been with your wife. So you met her when you were 17.
Yeah.
Right. And you got into the professional work at 80. I'm quite intrigued because I haven't been able to ask this question to anyone. Yeah. Like, did that ground you a lot? Was that, do you think that played a big part in your success?
Yeah, unreal.
Age? Really?
Yeah, because we knew each other poor.
Yeah.
We'd like been through so many things in life together.
Yeah.
And we knew each other with nothing, and like everything that we've achieved, done together, all the experiences and things that we've done, and keeping me grounded, and just so much we've been through.
Because I started, and I can relate to your story, but I didn't have a partner then, so I went off the rail. When I first started,
I didn't ever go off the rails.
This is what I was going to get to. So when I first started, because when your friends are at university and you're working, you become richer than them very quickly, right?
Much quicker, yeah.
And I became, because I didn't, became a bit of a party boy and Billy Big Butts, with everything and stuff. Whereas I think you had a very different experience.
Yeah,
I'm quite
very
intrigued
different.
by that.
I just worked.
Yeah.
So when my friends all graduated, 21, 22, I'd started my first company.
Wow.
21. Was a shareholder and founder of well-invested tech staffing company.
Yeah.
And but I always felt older than my years, because at 21 I felt like I was 28. Just I'd been working and
employing people,
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just very, very different. But no, coming back to Gainer, we just done everything together. Yeah, it's really amazing, and feel very lucky.
Well, you are. Yeah,
very, very lucky.
So. It's
not been easy.
No.
Like, obviously, you know what it's like. Yeah. You're running a company and lots of conflicting priorities, and then you become a husband and a parent, and you got challenges at work and at home, and balancing that is really, 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 really hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what made you, so we've kind of frog-legged something here. So you've got Gainer, your anchor at home.
Yeah.
You're doing really well in the business. Just become Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
You told us you set up a business.
Yeah.
So what happened?
How did that happen? Gary Lawrence sold MRG that had all the different brands to a company called Fleur Daniel. It was an unreal deal. Sorry, at the time it was an unreal deal. Fleur Daniel were a Fortune 500 listed company that did like global construction. They had diversified industries that was going around the world buying recruitment companies. He sold it at the time, say 97, £10 million just before the boom. Like, it was worth so much more 2 years later. But Gary sold the company. And then I got on really well with my boss, Chris, who's a sales director. We became really close, and he taught me so much, taught me how to do recruitment. He's big biller, really larger than life character. The youngest out of the 5 guys, he was the sales director. He was that good. He was unreal. One of the best recruiters I've ever met. And then he said, we're going to start a company. So it was his concept, his idea. And the 5 of us left and had business angel investment. I was 21, became a shareholder, minority shareholder. And we started a company called Networking People, NP Group, which went on to be like a top 100 UK tech staffing company. And we all thought, I think, but I can only talk for myself, that I would make it and become a millionaire by the time I was 30. Like, that was it. Like, we all thought, this is it, amazing. What an exciting time, 21, we're going to start a company, and with an investor, with a serious investor in it, put large amount of capital in it. And so I got thrust into the world of shareholders agreements, articles of association, company formations. There was an FD put in by the investor, a guy called Ellie Timon. And we launched, big launch, and did really, really well. I figured out I was probably one of the top billers in the company, and it didn't take me long to figure out I'm not going to achieve my goal doing this.
Really?
I'm not going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30, because I'm 2% shareholder and there's a majority shareholder in this. And I had the fastest growing teams, the biggest teams. We launched the business launched in the US. We had a brilliant team in the US. We're doing like major projects, high ticket contracts and perm, international recruitment. And like that was just an unreal experience for me. But what I did do was I used to get on the train from Finchley into the West End every day, and Ellie lived in Finchley as well, the FD, the older guy that was put by the investor. And so we used to get on the tube most of the time, and he and I were really close, and I'd just pick his brains. What's profit and loss? What's a balance sheet? Why is that important? Tell me about invoice discounting. And he would say, I was annoying to him, I think. He was like, just don't worry about it, just do your thing. And he taught me all of those things. I had a natural inquisition for it. I didn't really know why, but I kind of thought it might help me in the future. So I learned so much about the corporate world in that environment. Then when it was time to leave and start whatever I was going to do next, I just had so much knowledge. I had so much knowledge of how to scale a company.
And how long were you with that business for?
I left there we launched it in 1998, and I left there in 2007, July 2007.
Okay, so you're with them for some time.
Yeah.
Right. And did you ever get any benefit of being a minority shareholder at all?
Got dividends. Good dividend payouts.
Yeah, they did that.
Got dividends, yeah.
Right. And the business was flying, and you got to international markets, you got to see lots of things.
Yeah.
So you're just learning on the job, basically.
Learning. Cutting my teeth, learning. Didn't know. At the time, I was probably very frustrated. If I look back, I would say I was really frustrated because I probably knew inside that it wasn't going to allow me to achieve my goals. And I knew there had to be something else, but I didn't know how to create something else. And I talked to Gaynor about doing something myself, and I've still got it in my, your drawer at home.
Yeah.
You got your stuff. I've still got a card that Gaynor wrote to me must have been about 2006, saying how much she believes in me.
Huh.
Yeah. And she said to me, you got to do it. It doesn't matter what we have in life. We live in a 2-bedroom flat above a shop as long as we're together. It's just, you got to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to bring up here is it's not something you see very often. Even though like you were 21 years old when you stuck with them for some time.
Yeah.
You stuck it out.
I did.
You don't see that very often now. What made, how did you stick it out for so long?
I haven't thought about it. I've never thought about that.
Because you don't see that.
We were growing, and we were having a lot of fun. We were growing good company, and it was a top brand. We were opening international offices, and I was really close to the CEO, and I was learning a lot. And I think my frustrations were probably there for a few years, like maybe 3 or 4 years. I probably knew that this wasn't going to work out how I thought it was going to work out. And then it took me some time to really formalize what comes next and how do I do the next thing. We also had, Kay and I got married. We had our daughter when I was 28. So, in that journey.
Yeah.
And then we had a son. We had Harrison. I don't know. I just probably didn't have the confidence. Maybe that fear thing was there again. I've been earning really good money. Can I do it? Didn't want to do it on my own. Talked to one of the guys there about doing it together, but that didn't really come out. And I think I probably didn't want to do it on my own. If we started, like when we started NP, we started, there were 5 of us that did it. And I think I probably wasn't comfortable doing it on my own. And so really the catalyst for being able to do it was when my business partner, Mark, when he came back to England, he was in America.
Yeah.
He ran our US business at MB. Yeah. And we were the 2 top billers. And that was probably the catalyst from said, this is the guy I can do it with.
And who led that conversation?
I don't know. I can't remember who led that conversation. Yeah. I can remember where we went to write the business plan. Like, this is typically us. Like, everything was big company. Mark was over, and we were really close.
You just become pals as colleagues?
We had an office in Los Angeles. And we hired Mark, who was a big biller from Australia, and we moved him from Sydney to LA. And there was a major thing that happened in our LA office where it went a bit crazy, like quite a lot of young guys there, and it needed to be like fixed. And I think Chris was on holiday or was doing something, And he said, "Can you go? Like, we need someone to go. Can you go and just like get on top of this thing in the LA office?" And I missed my best friend's stag do.
Ooh.
But like that probably says that that was. It's not an easy thing to admit or to say, but that was probably more important, like in my career, to do that. So I went there and I met Mark, and he'd been there for like 4 or 5 days, and we got on really well. We took him out, and I said, "Look, I'm here to help. I'm going to do whatever I can," and we just connected. And I think he would probably say that was probably quite an important moment for him. He'd just moved from Australia to LA and walked into a shit show of these larger than life characters, like a little bit like the Wild West. And I was able to bring a little bit of like calm to that. And we connected from there. And then his career really progressed in the US, top biller. And he'd come over to like the annual conferences we'd have and award ceremonies, and we would hang out, and we got on really, really well. And people would say to us, "You two should, like, if ever's going to be a company going to start, it's you two." But we were on the other side of the Atlantic.
Gotcha.
And when he came back, it was like, we just got to do it. I think we just got to do it. So we rented a room on, just off Moorgate, and we spent 4 hours and wrote a business plan. I was still working at MB. We wrote our business plan. And then, and then we launched Consul.
And for those that are listening and watching this and are sort of might be thinking of setting up their own business, right? But also might be locked into shareholdings or being sold a dream, or, and things like, how easy, difficult was it to unpick yourself and from that and to make the move into starting your own business?
Very difficult. Yeah, very, very difficult. It wasn't easy. It took a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot of planning, a lot of strategy. I had a really good firm of lawyers that I worked with who advised me throughout it. So
you
it
had
took
to
a long
spend
time.
quite a bit then.
Yeah, I did it properly because I had this approach, which was whatever I did, I was going to do properly and seriously. It's a serious thing. I knew that exiting MP would not be easy to do, and I had to start a company. So I had to make sure I got that right. And I think it probably took me from the moment of instructing my lawyers, probably took me a good 9 months, maybe a year to get it right. And then for everything to kind of align. And I remember getting the phone, something happened. I won't tell you what happened, but something happened. And I remember calling the lawyers saying, "This has happened." And they were like, "This is it. The moment has come. That's the piece that we've been waiting for. We've just sent you the resignation letter. Go. You can now go and do it." And I remember driving because I used to drive into town. I was living in Cuffley at that time, driving into the West End to Euston Road, and just feeling free. It was the best drive I had. I felt free, like the shackles were off, like I could fly. It was the most amazing feeling because I was finally able to get out. And I knew I'd be able to get out and be able to start something, and nobody could stop it.
Yeah. And obviously you've been a very successful person.
Yeah.
Right. You've got a young family.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a lot on the line.
Yeah.
Starting a business is no easy feat.
No.
So you're forfeiting your income.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how, again, a big part of this podcast is to help people kind of, so just walk us through how you did that.
The first bit, the reason it wasn't easy, I just want to finish that. The reason it wasn't easy was because I understood the agreements that I'd signed. And I understood that I not only had an employment contract, but I also had a shareholders agreement, and I had fiduciary duties, and that could bite more than anything else. And so I had to find a way out through that, which I did. And then alongside that, you're right, was if you're going to start a company, you've got family and kids, how are you going to make sure you protect that? So I saved so much money. We didn't spend hardly anything. I saved a lot of money because I knew I wouldn't earn a lot of money. And I knew I had a couple of years worth of cash that I would burn through to be able to start this journey. And that's exactly what we did. So I had lots of savings. Gaynor and I didn't live ever. We don't live very expensive life. Like I wasn't the party guy. So we weren't, driving sports cars or, doing that stuff. We have, Gaynor and I were like real home people, like quite happy to hang out at home. And so, I saved. I just saved and saved and saved because I knew I'd need to have this fund that would see me through. And that's how I did that. We sacrificed holidays and things like that.
Yeah.
That would enable us to do it, because if we didn't do that, we wouldn't, I'd be in a situation where I need to earn and then not be able to make the right decisions.
It's such.
And me and Mark didn't earn money for a long time, a couple of years. We reinvested our profits back in, and I think partly because we didn't achieve what we wanted to achieve in the first company, which was an exit. As we had a deep burning desire, we wrote in our business plan that we'll sell this company. So every decision that we made was based on these things that had happened, which was to achieve an exit. And it was really ingrained in both of us, and we were very aligned on it. So we just reinvested and reinvested and reinvested. We didn't take money out. Eventually we were able to, after it was up and sustainable.
And again, this sort of recurring anchor in your life comes up with Galen. It's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I probably don't tell her enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think
she'd
watch. She knows. I don't think she'd ever watch this back, but if she does, I probably should tell her more.
Well, it's just the fact that you can remember where the card. The fact that you can remember in the early, this. You, without me prompting you, refer back to this. So it's very interesting that you've kind of got that pillar there has kind of been. You've really lent on it at times where you've decided to take a risk, which is fascinating to hear, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, mate. So was Mark on a similar deal, by the way? Was he on share?
No, Mark ran the US office. So would have had a interest in the US office, but not group company.
But were you did one start first? Or did you
Mark had moved on from the US office, and Mark had started doing much more advisory and consulting, and had started a career for himself where he became a Dale Carnegie Master Sales Trainer. So for anyone that doesn't know who Dale Carnegie is probably like the founding father of consultative sales, and wrote a very, very, very famous book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so Mark in LA had started learning about Dale Carnegie and became a Dale Carnegie Master Sales Trainer. And so was doing a lot of coaching and training and mentoring and advising, and then came back. I think he was doing a project here, came back, and that's how we then jumped in and was with his now wife, came back for his relationship with his now wife. Yeah. And I think
so you both had anchors.
Yeah. He would say he came back for love, his wife, and money.
Okay. Just on this point, again, it's really important, I think, for people who are looking to open a business. And you how were you able to launch with clients when you were under probably such restrictions from your previous company as well? How did you go about finding clients? How did you go about avoiding any of your restrictive covenants?
I was able to get out of the restrictive covenants.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we go. Say more. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing to be able to do. You got enough legal advice and protection that gave you the confidence to go for it. Okay. Well,
I didn't have any comeback on that.
Okay. So tell us about the start of the journey then.
Me and Mark from his apartment in Princess Park Manor in North London. I resigned. We'd go and hang out, and we started bidding from his apartment. That was our starting place. We wrote a business plan. We started working. We started billing, did projects. We did a really big project, commit spend project, with a very, very, very large global tech vendor, and it was just me and him, which was brilliant. We just did recruitment.
And what did you see as your US, what was your, if people met you in the pub and they say, hey, Graeme, what is it you do? What was your US?
At the time, the market we operated in was a real niche within telecommunications software, which evolved over time. And we won a project in that, really specialist, very diversified. It was perm. And so that gave us more startup capital. So we did that for probably 4 months, and then we moved to work in London, and we worked on the sales floor for a really large established recruitment company, and that was really good fun because we got into a sales floor, and for those guys, they loved having me and Mark on their sales floor as big billers doing our thing, And for us, we were surrounded by recruiters again. So it was really beneficial.
Yeah.
And then we officially launched. So I've probably finished in July. We officially launched on January, 1st of January, 2008.
Nice.
With 4 staff members.
Yeah.
And me, Mark, and 2 staff members who we hired from our previous company.
So 2008 was the year I moved to Dubai, and that's also the year the world fell on its ass.
Lehman Brothers crashed.
Yeah.
3 months into our journey,
Yeah.
we just started a company.
Yeah.
And exactly, the world fell on its ass and we just started a recruitment company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you get out?
It was a blessing for us,
right,
because in our first year, we did £1 million in revenue. We did about 750k in net fee income, and we were profitable.
Wow.
And we got to 10 or 11 staff.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did was we basically stepped out of like the everyday normal markets, and we just were hyper specialist. And where other companies were big and couldn't pivot, we could pivot. And we could pivot to different markets and strategies. I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, 2008 was biggest crisis that the world had ever seen for 70 years, the financial crisis. Some people that are watching this might not understand the relevance of that. The banking system shut down and we're in a deep global recession. We both remember it well, but there will be some younger people that watch this that don't really understand the significance of that. It was, it was mayhem.
Yeah,
people were getting made redundant. There were the images on the news of banks closing and people walking out their desks in the city of London with boxes because Lehman Brothers just crashed. Like,
the only thing I think people could relate to probably be COVID.
It was a COVID.
It was financial COVID.
It was a financial COVID. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
But what was? Okay, there's a couple of things that I've just learned from listening to you there that I want to just pick up on. Firstly, it sounds to me that like you've somehow managed to navigate yourself through muddy water. So you had you.
I haven't thought about any of this stuff ever, to be honest with you. And so like, this is that thing where you said don't prepare, just talk and be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't really reflected on a lot of this stuff for a long time.
It's really interesting, right?
Yeah,
because you were able to like in year one navigate the muddy water somehow, right?
Yeah,
that's because you were agile. I'm going to assume.
Yeah, and we did projects in Africa.
Yeah.
And we did things in like hard to find skills in hard to find places that, we won Cisco Systems as a company. For those who don't know who Cisco is, it's the founding fathers of the internet.
Yeah.
Their technology created the internet.
Yeah.
And so we won Cisco. Like, it's like winning Microsoft. Like, everyone knows Microsoft. How did we were in this shitty little office in the city. And how did we do that? Because we just found the hardest places. We were doing BD with, the CEO of Cisco India. Like, what your tech challenge? We can find people for you in this.
Yeah.
The first project was in Nigeria.
Well, but that's brilliant. The fact that you because that's people that I know that have made it, right? And I've sat opposite quite a few of them doing this. Is that they immediately, when hit with problems, they look where the opportunities are.
Yeah.
All right. They look at okay, they sort of digest it at that moment of panic. They digest and they go, right, this is what we need to do. Not many people will then pick up the phone and call Nigeria.
No.
Or call India.
No.
Sat in the UK.
Yeah.
Right? What made you think Nigeria would be booming?
It wasn't necessarily Nigeria. It was, we knew that they couldn't find the skills, Cisco certified internet networking experts. They didn't exist.
Yeah.
There was like maybe, at that time, maybe 1,000 in the world, and the world needed 10,000.
Yeah.
So it was going to be that.
That's the one. Yeah.
It was always going to be that.
Makes complete sense.
Yeah. It's like when, we talked about, me and Mark started doing AI in 2014. So, you got to be ahead of it.
Yeah.
And when you look at markets and try to find those bets and what's going to come good in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I moved here 17 years ago. It's
right. You got to be brave.
Everyone thought I was a lunatic.
Yeah,
now
you got to be brave.
When I go back to it's funny that I laughed about this with a couple of the locals there because they always say to me, and you'll get this as an expat now, when you're coming home, right?
Right.
And it stops.
Right.
People now saying, can you find me a job out there?
Right.
It's so funny how the conversation changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed that you said from your story there, and again, I think this is to do with how grounded things were at home for you and the experience you've been through with your previous business. It sounds like at a very early stage, you and Mark knew that you wanted to sell the business, right?
Not at an early stage. We wrote in our business plan.
Okay.
It was at the founding part of it.
And that must be because of the experience that you had with your previous employer.
You know, you see a lot of companies spin up, and it's not right or wrong, because they're kind of like frustrated in the current environment and kind of say they're really big billers. Well, we could go and do this for ourselves, and rather than earning X% of what I bring in, I'm going to earn 100%. So let's do that.
Yeah.
I can earn more money. That wasn't it for us. It wasn't about earning more money. It was about scaling something.
You saw what happened at your previous employer and you were, we're going to do this on our own.
Correct.
Right? So that's why after year one, it sounds like you'd taken yourself out of the business and you were looking at other opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I
described it.
Yeah, pretty quickly. Yeah, maybe in year two, we'd started extracting ourselves to be less, the company was less reliant, maybe in year one, less reliant on our personal billings, but we were still doing BD.
Yeah.
And we had 10, 11 people.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And was that all going according to the plan?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we hit our first year budget. We hit our numbers pretty much every single year. Yeah. We hit our numbers.
Yeah. You brought up imposter syndrome a couple of times while we've been talking. And it's interesting that I think that comes back to your early story, because what you were saying about not being able to, you were amazed, what were these people's like the Cisco systems doing, being able to speak to me. But you're sort of pushing to the side the fact that you've done the job for over 10 years. And
I think when I'm doing BD, I'm in a different world. Like I'm in a different mindset where I'm confident. But I definitely have moments of doubt. And when I'm talking to you about these experiences, I really believe it. And so I'll talk confidently about it. But I said to you earlier, coming here and sitting in the chair, I felt very vulnerable. Yeah. Because, but
it's interesting. You brought up a couple of, when you reflect back on it, you're very humble.
Right.
Very humble about the success that you've had, which is very interesting to hear. And I'm going to guess that's the way you were brought up.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why that would be, but I don't know.
What was home life like when the ASA business? But did they see much of you?
In 2000, when we started the company? Well, we had a tragic event in the first year in that we lost my mother-in-law very young. My wife's mum passed away and she was amazing. And so it was very, 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 very difficult. And that was 6 months in.
Wow.
So, and we were dealing with the financial COVID. And so that was very, very, very hard. And so just to get through that, and you start a company, and in the March, cash flow wasn't looking great in the March. We started in January, March, April, cash flow was not looking great. Like we had a small runway, a couple of months runway, which isn't a long, as you know, like the payroll comes around really quickly. And so there's lots going on in life, and you just have to find a way through it, don't you? You have to get through it. So that was hard. And then I really tried hard to be a present dad and husband, but there's conflicts there. So I would get home and see the kids every night, and I'd get home for like 7:15 and be able to read the story. Probably the worst part of the day, because Gaynor has done the whole day, and then I get in at the end to read the story, the hero part.
Yeah. But
I'd walk in and just be like so tired, and do the story part, and then pretty much carry on working or whatever. So yeah, that was tough for Gaynor, tough for me probably. But you just got to do it, don't you? What can you do?
Yeah.
You got to work. It just comes back to it. You just got to work.
Yeah.
So that was, and I made a real effort to make sure I wasn't an absent father, probably because of what happened early in life. So, I don't think the kids missed out on anything, but they definitely saw me work. And when the kids are little and they say, "Oh, don't go to work, Daddy," I remember I cringe when I say this. I remember my daughter being like 2 or 3 and me saying, "I have to go to work because we got a mortgage," and talking about what a mortgage was. We don't own the house. We got a mortgage. The bank owns the house. We got to pay a mortgage. And if Daddy doesn't go to work, we got no money. And that's how it works. We got money to pay the mortgage. We can do nice things.
Yeah.
And so I've really created and told those stories, because those are the stories I was told.
Yeah. Yeah.
when I was young. I think they're really important
I've
stories
said
to
similar
tell.
things, I get it all why is your laptop open or stuff like that?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think pays for all the, sometimes I can feel myself get a little bit angst with it. Yeah.
It's an interesting one now because, I've got a 5-year-old as well. And so my world is different with him. Like the other 3 saw me going to work. He doesn't see me working in the same way. He sees me working in a different way. And so it's a bit more difficult. So I still have to find ways of telling those same stories. And I say things like, you really want to go to Disneyland, Jai? When in order to go to Disneyland, Daddy's got to go to work. It's just a different story. It used to be the mortgage, and now it's like, how can I get this guy? I need to teach this guy something. The story, which is, why can't we go to Disneyland in America? You can't, because I've got to go to work.
Yeah, yeah. What in terms of like the business, just so people can understand how. So you had the business for 12 years, was it?
We started in 2008, and we did our deal in 2016.
Okay.
We wrote in our business plan that we would sell the company between year 5 and 7.
Okay.
I was, I wanted to do it by the time I was 40. So I did it just pre-40.
Okay.
But I was late on it because I had a personal thing, which I missed, where I wanted to be home more for my daughter when she was a teenager. And I missed it. I didn't achieve it. I felt that being home for a 13-year-old daughter was going to be a really important thing. And I couldn't pull it. I didn't do it. And so I think I missed that window. But I was really driven by that. I wanted to do it then. And they would have been 15, maybe 16 by the time we did it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wanted to do it then. I really, Mark and I were very driven on it anyway, but that was like one of the moments for me. I wanted to be home more.
And what did the business look like at the time that you went to sell it then?
Well, at the time we started very early on that exit process, started probably 5 years before we sold the company. What I mean by that is we were talking about how we exit 5 years before we did the deal because we knew there were things that we needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I'm very lucky that I had kids and Mark didn't, and so one of the things we knew we needed to do was to have a face to the company. And so Mark did a lot of being out at events and dinners and REC events and AppSco and awards, and so the company started to create a brand and a face that became really well known. And then your question was what size was it at when we did the deal? So we had, at the point of doing the deal, we had office in London, which had maybe 80, 90 people, office in Los Angeles, office in Boston. We were trading in 60 different countries, had over 300 contractors, net fee income was split 50-50, contract and perm. We were doing a lot of projects. We launched a professional services company, IT professional services company, high margin professional services company. We had a proper company at that stage. When we went to market, we had offers from 2Trade, 2PE, and Empresario, who we sold the company to, and we were able to create some competitive tension in there, which was really we wanted to achieve. We did that. Our chief financial officer left in the middle of the conversations, which was mad thing to happen. So we were talking to Empresario probably for a good 10 months, and halfway through that, the CFO left, which was Matt. It was Matt.
Wasn't the CEO incentivized?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then we hired a finance director, Jeff Whittle, who was unreal. And he came in like not quite mid-process, but this was going on. And then Brexit hit. Mm-hmm. So they said, we want to do the deal. And I think we might have got to heads of terms. Jeff was maybe 2 or 3 months into the business, so it weren't his numbers. And then Brexit happened, and we were like, we got no chance now. And they were committed to it. And so we went into due diligence, and Jeff was just a rock star, got us through that. I mean, we're a very clean business, but still for the FD to come in a new set new business for him, the new set of numbers, not his numbers, and to get through due diligence, which is, just 3 months of just your business gets turned upside down. I don't know how many pages and data and thousands of pages.
Yeah.
So and then we did the deal on 6th of October 2016.
And for any aspiring entrepreneurs out there, for people that are early stage of their business, was there, because you had all these different offers coming in, what was the one reason you think that your business was so attractive to all these different entities?
I don't know if there's one reason.
Okay.
It's just,
it doesn't.
There was a host of things that made it attractive. It was really well hedged.
Yeah.
It was hedged in terms of its revenue split. It was 50% contract, 50% perm.
Yeah.
In the UK, it was more contract than perm, but as a group, it was 50-50. We were hedged internationally, so we weren't reliant on one territory.
Yeah.
Approximately 30% of the business customers were in the US.
Yeah.
30% was in mainland Europe, and approximately 30% in the UK when we did the deal. So we had a really good global hedge. And then we were hedged in terms of markets as well. So we weren't solely reliant on one market. We had a telecommunications division, we had a content and streaming division, and we had a software engineering division. So we were hedged in terms of our markets. And then we were also hedged in terms of our client concentration spread. So we didn't have one company that represented more than 10% of net fee income, and we were hedged on our consultants' concentration spread. Okay. And so when you look at those kind of 5 or 6 metrics, it's really, really, really attractive. Yeah. Mark and I are no longer in the business in terms of fee earners or revenue contributors. We had a really, really solid management team of operational directors, finance director, compliance, contract, US office, 2 US offices. And so when you put all of that together, it's not a difficult investment to make. Yeah, I don't think. And obviously all of those things, we worked really hard to get all of those. Yeah. All of those together. We had an incredible learning development structure. We had an incredible career development plan where we had, our model was hire graduates, and the leadership team pretty much came through the academy, team leaders, the big billers. I can't remember the exact stat, but something like 7 out of 10 of the top 10 league table were all homegrown consistently year after year after year after year. And so we had a machine on that. We had a really good learning development team. Obviously, Mark comes back to Dale Carnegie, ingrained in the fabric of our business with learning and development. We had a phenomenal L&D director called Russell Bezic, who was able to take our concepts and deploy them so we could grow people. We had a plan, a structure, a template. We had a career development plan called Progress, which plotted, if you started as an academy, here's the route to get to a shareholder and director, mapped out based on billings and behaviors and personal contribution. So we had all of it, like everything was nailed. And it was never not going to be, because we planned everything. Yeah. And if you think back to our philosophy, me and Mark, when we, this is relevant, when we started the company, pre-launch, we were looking for advisors, so accountants, lawyers. We had non-exec director pre-launch, Matt, and we went and, like, rather than appointing a firm of accountants, we met with 4 different accountancy companies. And there was one individual that we met who was the main M&A guy in London at the time. Andy Pollock, his name was, from a company called Reese Pollock. He did all the M&A, and is a very big, larger than life character. And we met him, just Mark and I, these 2 guys with a business plan, pinstripe suit. He walks in here, and we pitched him the story. And he turned around and he said to us, "It's an amazing story. From today onwards, you look and behave and act like a big world-class company. And if you do that, behave the right way, be world-class, you'll go far." And that stuck with us. And we were like, wow, that's what we need to do. So, you know, when we won Cisco, we weren't like 4 guys in an office in the city of London. We were a big global company. We started behaving like a world-class company day one. So our website, we were 4 months old. We had an office in New York, in Dubai, and in London. You know, with, like, you could get the phone number at that time and an address. And, you know, we were a big global company. In our minds, we started creating this concept of we're a big company. Gotcha. And all the way through that, coming back to the end, we had structures and processes of big company. No skeletons in the closet. There was nothing. So we knew we could go to DD, nothing would ever come up. We were really like, we ran it like corporate.
It's meticulous.
Yeah.
You described it.
Although we created a culture of a startup.
Yeah.
Even though like corporate, we were clean, but we had a culture of a startup. Now 7 years in, we'd still want to be trying to run the company like a startup.
I want to ask you a question because it's come up with other people I've spoken to who've sold their businesses. And then before we move on to the next chapter, I'd like just to understand this. How did you take the people on that journey? People must have known you were selling, right? Your staff.
Yeah.
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 And you've got, no doubt, got a core team behind you. Yeah. How did you keep them on the journey with you while you were going through that sale process?
There's a couple of things. One of the most important things, I believe, is to be transparent with them, be open with them, let them know where we're going on the journey, but keep them absolutely incentivized on the goal. And one of the key ways to do that is to make them shareholders, not EMI option holders. It's really important. It's a mistake that I've talked passionately about to my companies that I advise now is they have to feel and genuinely be part of it at the top table. And that touches psychological and emotional feeling of signing a shareholders agreement, receiving dividends, being able to talk to their partners and parents and family about being a shareholder in this company. I was a minority shareholder, but I didn't feel like a shareholder in my previous company. I was an employee really, and this guy that just had a couple of percent. I wasn't really at it. I was smoke and mirrors at the top table. We did board meetings for the sake of board meetings at my previous company, but I wasn't really part of it. And so we really wanted to make the core team feel part of it through their compensation, their incentives, their shareholding, but also to feel like they had a say in the direction of the company. And I believe they all felt like shareholders, and they've gone on to do like amazing things. Like some of the companies that have spun out of Consul are unreal.
Really?
Yeah, unreal.
Okay.
Yeah, unreal.
So that's
really proud of it as well.
Yeah, I bet.
And like on that, one of the things that Mark and I used to stand up and say in our like monthly sales meetings or our annual sales conferences, we created this platform, this opportunity with markets and services and training and career development. And really it's down to the individuals to decide what they do with that across the company. You can embrace it and work hard and do really well or not. And then it's up to you, and we'll just judge your own results. And one of the things, the proudest things, is to see how many people progressed in the company and then post us going, how much has spun out of it is unreal. It's like one of the proudest things. Forget doing the deal. All that stuff is seeing what some of the guys are doing is unreal. Yeah.
Nice. Good story. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you just want to come on to the final chapter. So you sell the business.
Yeah.
Now I'm sat here with you in Dubai.
Yeah.
Right. So just tell us what are you doing these days? And how did it feel being that person that's grafted for so long?
Yeah.
Suddenly have some free time on your hands.
Yeah. It's difficult to adjust to at first. So we finished in December 2019. Last day was the 31st December 2019. So I finished just before. And then I had the thing over Christmas that I always have had for years, which was get through Christmas, get through Boxing Day, knowing the beginning of January is coming up. And I'll be thinking about how's the contract book look on the 1st of January? What levers are we going to have? Who's going to are we going to get resignations? How does the year start looking? And I'd always wake up in between Christmas and New Year fearing what's coming. And in 2019, I did the same thing. I woke up, I was like, oh, how's the contract book going to look? Who's going to resign? And I was like, oh, I don't, doesn't matter anymore. I don't care. And that was weird. And it was a feeling of elation. Like, oh my God, I'm not going to go back to work on the beginning of January. I'm just going to hang out. And so that was just the most unreal experience because we did it and we achieved it. So the first month, 6 weeks was great. And then I found it challenging. It was difficult because I lost structure. I didn't have any structure. I lived a very structured, organized life, professional life. Didn't have that suddenly. And so then you do question purpose and what it's all about and what do I do? How do I do it? I was very tired. I didn't realize how tired I was. Very tired. It hit me in the December. Like I was just exhausted. So I just hung out, didn't do much. And then the phone started ringing. People started asking me if I could help. And I kind of started jumping in. I was doing some work with Empresario, exec advisor to the CEO and to the board there for a period of time because they wanted us to stay. And we just Mark and I said we were never going to stay. We were just tired. We both knew we needed a break. And so we did some advisory stuff for them. And then just, started helping other people, like calling me, can you help? Can you do some advisory? And I fell into that. And now I do that, invest in companies, mentor, coach, board advisor. I love what I do. I think I'm the happiest now in my career I've ever been because I'm able to share knowledge and experiences and help individuals to grow and achieve whatever they want to achieve. And it's really, really rewarding.
But not have the day-to-day stress.
Not have the data. And it's the same stress.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's all people-based.
Yeah.
It's the same stress, pretty much.
Yeah.
Performance and people.
I'd like
and don't have the emotional attachment, which is nice.
I'd like to understand, Graeme, the business that you built, was that fit for and sold? Was that fit for that time, that period of time in the world? Would you build a similar business today?
There are lots of things that I'll do similarly, but there'll be things that I'll do differently as well now, today. One of the things is I would have put much more significance and importance on a tech stack over the people element. We grew it based on headcount and productivity a lot. And I think there's a way of doing that much more efficiently now by embracing tech. Because if you think about recruitment, 80% of it is administration from on the front end, building lists of companies to contact to try and win vacancies. And on the other side, researching, sourcing and finding candidates is admin. 80% of it's admin. And that is not a good use of like creative human thinking. And so if you can find ways of automating those processes and having humans do the creative high value piece, well, it's great for the people and it's great for productivity and it's much more efficient. So I think there are other ways of doing it now, and particularly that's around being really open to tech.
Okay.
For us, it didn't exist when we wanted to do it. It wasn't out there, but now it does. And yeah, that would be a major
much
change. Much more agile, much more open to embracing tech. I'll be much more open to outsourcing elements of the company to region. Now, we built a very, very expensive, big finance team in London. Like, I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah. You and I have spoken about South Africa, and Philippines and markets.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we always end this podcast by asking our guests to offer some advice to the next wave of entrepreneurs. So what would you say to any aspiring entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs out there right now? What would you say? What advice would you give them? What got you through the dark days?
Don't want to sound like a broken record, Justin, but you got to work, basically. Nothing in life is easy or free. It just isn't. And you got to work and be prepared to make sacrifices. Have something that somebody wants to buy and purchase a service or a product, of course. And then outside of that, you got to graft. You got to really, really work and make sacrifices. And when it's tough, keep working. I think that is the number one overriding thing. And then outside of that, I think you got to be really open to do things different. The world's changed. The world is a really crazy, crazy, crazy place, isn't it? It's mad what's happening in the world today. And so I think you got to be really agile in terms of decisions that you make. Be structured, be organized, have a plan, have a vision, a goal, surround yourself with good people, and work hard.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your story, my man.
I've really enjoyed it. We enjoyed it much more than I thought I did because you knew I was a bit nervous. So I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. Hopefully it's valuable to some people out there.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.